Welcome back to Rambletech, episode number 3. We are back from a long Easter break and ready to discuss one of our most interesting topics, preferences.
Good evening, everybody. Morning, afternoon, whatever it happens to be that you're listening to this show. We're happy to have you join us for another recording of Rambletech, where we just sort of pick a topic and ramble along for anybody who is unfamiliar with what the show is. I am joined by my two co-hosts, Geoff.
Heyo.
And Lee.
I can't believe I just waved. Hi, everybody. It's been obviously a long couple of weeks, and my brain is still fried because I just waved when he said, and my co-host Lee.
Listen, you're just really excited to be back on the air.
I am, actually. I was going through some pretty bad withdrawal over the 2 weeks of having no editing to do.
Well, that being said, you were also, locked in a room with your family for a week?
Yes, a little small box, basically. We went and visited our in-laws, and they have a 2-bedroom apartment, so all 4 of us had to fit into one room.
Crazy.
Is that really a vacation, then?
Really, I just saw a meme a couple of days ago, is that traveling with children is not a vacation. It's just raising your children somewhere else.
Sounds about right.
What are we talking about tonight, Brett?
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. But mostly we're going to be talking about preferences.
I'm married, dude. I couldn't say that even if I was allowed to.
Are you sure I'm allowed to say us on the show, or...?
Well, it's all Battletech related to most extent. Geoff, did you get up to anything in the last week or two?
Not really. No, it's been pretty quiet for me.
Yeah, really, the most exciting thing I did was shovel like 12 inches of snow.
Yeah, I was golfing the days you guys were doing that. It was rough.
I just waited till the next day and it all melted, so...
So, preferences. I know we were talking earlier about this, and we've been planning this for quite a while. Go over it one more time for the people that are listening in.
All right, so essentially we're going to talk about, who you are when you're playing Battletech, what you like to do, what your preferences are, roles, mechs, basically just the whole shebang. So let's start off, Geoff, since I always pick on Lee, and Lee's never ready. If you had a chassis that was your preference, what would it be?
Inner Sphere or Clan?
Yes. I'll start with Inner Sphere, because it's the most related to the League for the most part.
The Archer. I've always liked the Archer, From reading all the books and everything, of course, most of the main, well, not most, but quite a few of the main characters use an Archer. I don't know, I just like the look of it too. And then that evil former place that it came from, the original drawings came from, I grew up watching those too, so I have a soft spot for all of the what would have been classified as the unseen ones.
You're a pretty big fan of the Archer too, if I don't recall.
Oh yeah, I was just railing to the gods about the fact you took my mech, Geoff. Yeah, it's the Archer, and the reason being is I really came across the idea early on when playing Battletech was, why should I wait to them to get close enough to shoot me before I shoot them? So I go at the longest range possible, so I do damage to him when he's not doing damage to me, and it should put me ahead. That's for that. And the reason why was because I got kind of challenged to do something different than the guy who was teaching me how to play. So I picked that mech to use because it was completely the opposite of what he used.
So you're claiming that you know how to play because you were taught.
Yep. I had a friend, he kicked my butt for 3 months before I won my first game, and it was a lot of fun doing that. And yeah, of course I was trained. We were all trained. League trains you in the first 2 seasons.
It's pretty wide known that my favorite has always and probably will always be a Wolverine of some kind. I just like the balance of it. It's got the armor that it can be beefy and scrap. It's got some weapons that are decent. It's fast enough that it can get where it needs to. All in all, it basically is just a good, fast brawler.
Yeah, it's solid. It's a good mech.
I agreed. Yeah, it is a good mech.
Especially for heat, when you're dealing with so many of the other mechs having heat problems, you can't overheat a 3025 Wolverine.
Well, you can. It just takes a lot, right?
Okay, Lee, do you have a favorite clan chassis that you like to gravitate towards?
Yeah, the first one I ever saw, the Mad Cat. And the Mad Cat Prime for particularly, and the reason why is because it's the mixture of my two favorite mechs. It's a Marauder and an Archer. Catapult, for to be specific, but a missile boat. So the combining of my two favorite mechs.
Mine is a toss-up between the Timberwolf and the Warhawk.
Nice. Any particular reason?
Same reason for the Timberwolf as Lee's, pretty much. The fact that it was like the first introduction to the clan side of things. The Warhawk, because as you know from the old league, that was my assault mech of choice when it came to the clan side of things, and it was pretty dominating.
Yeah, it's a dominant mech. I like the variant, the two ERPPC's two large pulse lasers.
That's, but I think the 3 years that I was running it in Old League was that variant with some minor modifications with a targeting repeater and yeah.
Well, and
yeah, it was very dangerous.
Yeah, and you're falling within the construction rules back then too, because you had offsetting weight.
Yeah, no more than 50% pulse weapons.
Yeah, and I don't know why, but for some reason that Stu guy, he liked me, and my designs were favorable.
Mine were iffy, but not. But those might have been my own fault, not his.
Now, for myself, for the longest time, it was the Summoner, but that was because I read the books and loved Aiden Pride as a character, and that was his mech of choice, and I was like, yeah, that's so good. And then I stopped, and I got a little bit older, and I realized, it's not a horrible mech, but it just does not, stand up to a bunch of the rest. Now that I think about it, my favorite clan is probably the Cauldronborn. 65 tons, 5'8", and just a really good, devastating pod space, so you can put in whatever kind of weapon mix you need to.
Opposing picture too, like the mini is very imposing.
It just looks good.
Yeah.
All right, so we all kind of have some range preference for much of our mechs. Lee, when you are playing different types of games, do you find that there is a specific role that you get either pigeonholed into or volunteer for?
Yeah, support. And that's in D&D, it's a cleric. In Battletech, I'm usually missile support, or like even things like recon, which I know isn't support fire, but it's the supporting units from the main battle. I'm not a frontline grunt. I always seem to end up being one of the gap fillers. And in D&D, it was always the cleric because nobody wanted to play a cleric for some reason.
Yeah, we got a buddy that played a cleric, and his rule was, I'm not healing till I get a kill.
Oof, yeah, I remember that. That was great because in that campaign, I totally remember that we were playing EverQuest as the setting.
Okay.
And all of us went out of our way to steal his kills so that he would not get a kill because we had a shaman also. So
that's awesome. Yeah, no, it was always been that way, and I always played missile boats, like I said, because a buddy kind of challenged me to run those as opposite to what he used. He goes, "Oh, missiles are pointless." I'm like, "Oh, really? All right, your Warhammer is maximum 20. My one launcher does 20, so we'll see who does more."
Yeah, it's funny that you say for in campaigns and tabletop and stuff like that, because as Brett would know, since I played most of my campaign stuff with him, Archer may be my favorite mech, but I normally seem to gravitate towards like a Black Knight, don't I, Brett?
Yeah, something that just sort of slugs in and energy boats away and just last man standing kind of thing.
Yeah, that's normally what I end up doing too, is being the guy that stands there to take the hits while everybody else does everything because nobody wants to just go in.
Yeah, if you didn't have a response to that, I was going to say, based off our history, I would say you're kind of like a lineman.
All the while trying to get everybody else to do certain things. Commanding from the front lines, yeah.
No, stop thinking and just do what I tell you.
Why are you doing it wrong? This is the way you're supposed to do it.
Which is funny because, we get stuck where in campaign settings, there's usually either a cluster of 4, 8, 12 people, whatever playing, all trying to make decisions, or you get a couple of people that can stand out and be like, okay, no, I'm going to make my command roll. I'm going to do this, and you are going to listen to what I have to say.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, for most of our campaigns with you, Brett, there, it was myself and the rest of the guys, and then our good friend Neil. Normally, Neil and I would be the ones that would hash everything out command-wise, right? Like, you guys go along and play and do your thing. Neil and I will sit here and do the paperwork.
I usually got left in charge because nobody else wanted to do it. So there was another reason why I'd play at the back of the field to help fill in. Oh, okay, these guys are wandering off there. They've left this one guy alone. I better go be with him so he's not getting hammered by everyone else.
Yeah, I usually struggle because I'm like, I kind of want to take the role so that we don't have 3 hours spent of people just deliberating. Well, let's do this. Well, let's do this. Let's do this instead. No, I think we should do this. Okay, we've decided we're going to do this. Okay, now how are we going to do it? Jesus Christ. Okay, guys, this is just what we're going to do. Let's go and do it. My preferred role in Battletech and on the tabletop is usually like scout or scout support.
Yeah, you're usually a forward lead from the front as well, because I remember the other games or the very first time you and I ever played in that tournament, you were much more wanting to go charge into them to try to take the battle to them instead of waiting for it to come to you.
Can't be killing things if you're too far out.
Oh, most of the campaigns we played in, the technology didn't go that far, so we had to get close.
Back in my day.
Yeah, back in the day.
I don't have my rocker here. I was just thinking about that with some of the upcoming things that are going on in the Calgary area for gaming. And I think, Brett, you and I were talking about how technology has gone past what we're kind of willing to play. You go up a little bit further of the Republic of the Sphere and all that, and they're whacked out technology. And then you have where we're kind of sitting right here, and we got comments earlier this past week about why we aren't going, into the jihad and all that. The technology, well, that changes the way we play as well, like command-wise and stuff like that, because you're used to not having a 25 hex weapon. You're used to having 15s and 18s because of PPCs and all that. And then that's how you learn how to play, how to command, and then you get all this new tech that just totally changes all of that.
Yeah, that definitely plays a part. Like when you're looking at stuff and you're like, oh, autocannons are pretty decent. Oh, ultras are kind of garbage. Oh, but rotaries are kind of sweet. It's funny how the evolution of the technology comes along and starts to make a difference in your game.
Ultras aren't bad, right? Ultras have their place.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right next to the Blazers and stuff like that. And that was the kind of point I was trying to make there, Brett. Sorry, I kind of rambled for a second there.
It's okay. Geoff and I both acknowledge that the timeline stops at about 3070, and nothing past that needs to exist.
Yeah, but I'm pretty much the same point with my campaigns.
The sad part is that it was the companies and the trading off and selling off and the new IPs that did that. I mean, I'm pretty confident that if the story arc hadn't been so unbelievably skewed, Geoff and I would have both been on board to be like, oh, so this is new and this is cool. This is new and this is cool. But we hit that point where it was like, this is just so unbelievably wrong as we felt that it was like, okay, kind of lost interest.
Yep.
Yeah, it took that hard right turn, right? That hard 90 and just went in a totally different direction. And like, hey, don't get me wrong. Guys that enjoy playing in those eras, more power to you to keep the game going for those. Like, don't let anybody stop you. It's just not my cup of tea. And, that's okay. If I don't play in those games, it's not playing Battletech, but it's just, it doesn't interest me. So I'm not going to force myself to play it, right? Like,
I'm trying to get really excited about the newer stuff, but it's that sour taste in my mouth that I got to get past to try and get into the stuff of like the Ilkhan era and all of the other stuff. And this stuff is pretty cool. One of the new box sets that they're releasing, there's a mech in it. I think it's the Regent. I looked at that and I'm like, that thing is bitchin'. Oh, what is it? I don't recognize it. And then I looked it up, or I think Matt pointed it out for me. Turns out that it is a Innisphere produced Clan Omni.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, from like 3142 or something like that, right? Like way in the future.
Yeah, I was like, well, that's cool, but like my fanboy just irks at that.
Story arcs that we were following with Battletech when the clans first invaded, and how they tried to talk about how alien the technology was to ours, and it just didn't combine, and it was all this stuff. And then to have it where it's being built in the inner sphere, you start thinking, well, Christ, I thought that stuff was supposed to be special and rare.
Yeah, I think that's part of my issue with the current timeline too. Is right. It's not everybody just picks and chooses whatever they want.
I mean, we allow in the league that everybody can choose like one clan item on a mech if they want to pay the points for it. And in campaign settings, you've got like, oh, salvage and put it in. But now things are being designed with like, oh, it's partially this tech and partially that tech. And that just seemed like it never really, my brain didn't really grasp it, because it's like, it should be primary A or primary B with like one thing or two things in there, but it shouldn't be like 50-50.
Yeah, you're not just buying it off the shelf. It's supposed to be hard to get.
And it's not always supposed to be super compatible either, right?
Well, you get your cake and eat it too, though, is the thing. But hey, like I say, that's more power to the people that play it, that bring new people in for Battletech on that. So I'm all in favor of that.
Oh yeah. I'm not unhappy the fact that the storyline or anything is moving forward. It's just when you survived the Dark Ages, it just felt, everything after that just felt kind of dirty. Like we were missing out on so much information and so much explanation why units just got wiped out willy-nilly. They just felt tainted.
Yeah, like Brett said, right? It's the case of how the IPs were transferred around and tossed around and all that, and the new IP holders trying to bring out new stuff to get new people playing, and it just left a sour taste in our mouths, right? That's
hey,
yeah. And good on Catalyst for trying to explain everything and go back and fill in some of that history that was so vague. And
yeah, that has been actually hugely important, because there's been stuff I've been a little bit more interested in. I started reading some of the later books. It definitely has helped my interest in learning more about it, even if I'm not wanting to play it.
That's just it. I'm really excited that I want to try and get into it, and I want to try and learn, but I got to figure out that sweet point of, this is where I want to sink my teeth in so that I can enjoy the meal and absorb all the new knowledge, instead of, oh, nope, this is still a part of the timeline that I didn't really like.
We were talking about preferences and things like that, and then we rambled off.
It's okay. We rambled into preferences of timeline. So it's all still related.
There's that too. Yeah. Now, why do you have a preference for a faction? Like, we've talked about our favorite factions in shows past, but why? Why did you choose the one that you did? And was it gameplay, or was it just immediate first look of how that house was?
So to rehash an old story, I got into Battletech in high school, reading the Clan Jade Falcon books, and have been a Jade Falcon fanboy ever since. Then a little bit of time went by, and I got into more expanded universe and was House Davian. And then by proxy, Federated Commonwealth, and then, Federated Sons. But all in all, that is my overall faction choice. I'll let you guys sound off, and then I'll come back and I'll talk about league factions and preferences there.
Sweet.
Yeah, so I'm kind of like Brett with reading the books and that, and getting into
Wolf Lover.
Yeah, that's your point. What's your point, Jade Turkey? I don't know. I was kind of the fanboy for when reading the books that it was Fed Sons and Wolf Clan and though at heart, I'm pretty sure at heart I'm either Merc or Comstar. Like Comstar after the split, not the Wobby side of Comstar. Just straight up Comstar, pay those bills. Yeah, no, I think when it comes down to push shove, I am a Merc at heart when it comes to the faction choices and histories. There's just something about it, right? Calhounds, hell, my email address and my online handle for the longest time was Calhound. For the first time I joined the league, I think my my stable name was the Calhounds. So
that sounds familiar.
Yep.
All right, old man, your time to sound off.
Well, we all know he's Dirty Capellan, right? So
that's what everybody thinks by some of the things I say, but no, it's When I first started playing, the first house that really drew my attention was the Draconis Combined, because I love the idea of samurais and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, so they would have, maybe more interesting mechs, and really the dragon is a super interesting mech. But when I was reading the history, when I finally started getting into the history, I'm like, wow, these guys can be right bastards. It's not, they're not very clean cut. And then, of course, I'm reading the novels and getting into the history of some of the first novels, and I'm reading Host Davy, and I'm like, oh, that stuff is pretty sweet. And everybody has grudging respect for the Federated Sons, so I was like, oh, okay, at least everybody's grudgingly respectful. And then I'm thinking, I know the character I want to run. I'm a Ronin samurai who took off after something horrible happened to somebody in Draconis Combine Space, and I become an expatriate in Federated Sun Space. I'm like, cool. And I start making up my characters for that. And from that point on, it's always been the way I've played, because I like playing my characters kind of like that, honorable, but the rules really don't apply anymore, but I'm going to try to do it anyway.
Now, that's kind of our faction choices and who we are and what we are. What about in a league setting? In the league setting, throughout the years, it's been a little bit different, but it's always been faction-based for the most part. Geoff, what's your favorite faction to play in a league setting?
In all the years of League that I've played exactly 2 factions every time. It's either being Mercs, if I'm going with Inner Sphere, or Clan Wolf or Warden clans when playing clans in the League. This year, for this upcoming season, I don't know what I want to play, actually. I won't be choosing Merc, I don't think. I'm actually thinking of one of the lesser houses, just because I want to do something different.
My experience for League, for my past faction choices, have actually been pretty random, or like the last choice because I was admin. I tried Periphery. I don't even remember. I think I was the Fed Sons one year. With clans, I went Ghost Bear because I'm a big fan of the Kodiak, thanks to the video games. But yeah, it's been always scattered around, because quite often I'm playtesting. This upcoming season, I would really like to pick up, as much as I want to say one of the C3Is or C3s to prey on Geoff for the entire season, I think I would go with Free Worlds League again.
That's a good random call out. I didn't expect that.
Well, he has been Free Worlds League in the past, right?
I was last season. Yeah.
Oh, no, but even before that, in previous League. Like in League one long time ago.
Yeah, I think this was probably your 3rd or 4th time playing Free Worlds League.
Yeah, I like them. Their tech, I miss, like there was Missile Tech, I think, in a couple of seasons that I've played them, and I'm a Missile fan. So, but yeah, if I had to make my choice for League, it'd be Free Worlds League.
So if and when I got the choice, I liked playing the clan factions. I liked the challenge of it, being starting with only 3 mechs instead of 4, and just the balance of it. Like, it was harder to play a clan faction. People look at it and they say, "Oh, look at all that advanced tech, and look at it," and then you stop and think, in a league faction, initiative matters. Who you go before, when you go after, individual initiatives matters so much that it makes it so difficult, and it's just a different experience. There have been fewer seasons with clan factions than there have been with, so I would preference, I really like Davian because I really like autocannons and gauze rifles. I've always picked a faction, or I've traded out and I've been like, yeah, just let me take whoever. If somebody needs a faction choice, I will trade my house for their house. As long as I can run a Wolverine, it don't matter. I'm going to have a good time.
And I think that's pretty much the most common mech in every house.
Yeah, so it was pretty simple and pretty easy. There was a couple of times that Stu was like, "Oh, this guy really wanted that faction, and you got it." I'm like, "Cool. Tell him to pick something with a Wolverine, and he can just have my faction." That was the first time I ended up getting Free Razzlehog Republic.
That's a good. And again, I remember in some of the leagues, some of the tech they received was really, really good.
That was my year of an archer with 4 Streak 6s and 4 medium X Pulse, or 2 medium X Pulse.
Nothing wrong with that.
Such a sick mech.
Yeah, it went 5-8-5, and 3 games in or 4 games in, Stu's like, and we have to restart because this mech is broken.
Yeah, I think that was before my time because we've never had a restart.
Yeah, it was one of the earlier seasons because he was doing where we do our skill points. It's 4 flat per game, and it tops out at 8 games depending on how long the season is. But it's nice and easy. Stu was doing you get 1 point per kill. You get an additional point if you kill the pilot.
Oh wow, yeah, that's pretty
After 3 games, that mech had something like 12 kills.
That's brutal.
Because between the missiles, the pulse, and then I could punch with both fists, capping pilots.
Yeah, especially with that many streaks because you hit with all of them.
Yeah, cheese tech, right? No.
Yeah.
And that is where 50% of pulse or streak technology came from.
Yep. And it made sense. It makes sense. Like it stops the absolute cheesy mechs being brought into League, making those bad moments, those bad touch moments happen.
Yeah, nobody really wants to feel bad of, hey, that mech just killed my entire lance. Which is why I believe we're going to reintroduce that for next season. We're not necessarily going to keep it. We're going to run it to see how it goes. But when people are building their lances next year, they're going to have to keep that in mind that, you're looking at a 50% pulse rule. Whether that's all mechs have about 50% or whether you have 2 cheese mechs and nothing else, we'll figure that out and we'll have that out clear before things go. But it's a factor for next year.
And if we ever start doing construction rules again.
I really like the construction rules because it allowed everybody to play with what they wanted. I don't want to play with the construction rules as admin because, oh my God, paperwork and a hassle. And the amount of times that I saw Stu calling people up and being like, so you're 10 BV over trying to build this. I need to do this. Well, no, that's not the mech I submitted. That's not what I want.
I'd rather hand out the construction rules like in the very first season I ran and said, you guys construct them, you submit them through me, and I'll go over them to make sure they fit within the construction rules. Once I've gone through them, I'll either approve them or not. If I don't approve them, I'll tell you why, and you need to go back and fix it. Make it their problem, not yours.
Yeah, you still end up having that argument.
Oh yeah, there was headaches.
You're 10 PV over. Well, is it really that big of a deal?
It is.
Yes, when everybody else has to toe the line, you need to toe the line.
Yep.
Can't the line just move?
No.
You haven't paid me enough for the line to move.
So speaking of moving lines...
Wait a minute, you guys get paid?
For playing Battletech, what's your preferred style? Do you prefer lance on lance? Do you prefer league setting? Do you prefer every second Saturday with beer and pizza the guys in the basement?
All of the above, really, when it comes down to it. I enjoy league setting, yes. I miss not playing in a campaign. I always liked a good either like Merc campaign or something to that effect. So,
Lee, do you prefer to play league setting, just a solo like Solaris one-on-one combats? Would you rather play in campaigns? If you had 6 hours of free time every week or every other week that you could dedicate to do whatever Battletech wise, what would it be?
Campaign. Absolutely. And I like the minutia stuff too. Like I know there's the war chest system to kind of deal with damage and repairs and all that. I had no problems with actually sitting down with a binder or a notebook and doing, we have this number of shots of autocannons, we have this amount of LRMs. I loved doing that stuff. To run it, I don't mind it either because I make it the player's problems. When I'm the player, I like being the one given that problem of keeping track of that stuff. I have definitely found out that running in league play I've almost been institutionalized. There's been times I've sat down at the table to play regular Battletech, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. What do you mean I don't have to roll for individual initiative? Who gets to go next?
So ingrained in your natural way of playing, eh?
Yeah, it's become. I've disputed it with people going, no, this is how you have to do this, and they're like, where the hell did you come up with that rule? I'm like, oh, right.
Oh yeah,
league.
20 years of league play.
Yeah, and that 7-year gap, I've kind of forgotten. Yeah, that kind of thing. No, if I had my choice, it would be campaign. If we're talking about what drives me, it's league play, competitive play.
I really enjoy the logistics part of a campaign, and have always either been stuck with either being like the CO, or if I'm not, and Geoff is, then I am picking up the logistics officer part. It's usually like a MechWarrior 3 campaign. I prefer playing as mercenaries because I prefer the freedom of it, where you get to do it's a little bit more sandbox. You go and take the missions you want to play. You go and make the role playing aspect of the negotiations, and you're not necessarily always just doing A or B. You get a lot more flexibility. Whereas if you're playing the campaign setting and you're a house unit, it's okay. Today you go and you fight these guys. Okay. And next session, okay, you're 6 months have passed and you're being redeployed here and you're going to go do this. I've always enjoyed being like, okay, so we're going on a mission and we're going to go here and we're going to be on planet for a year. All right. So we need to carry this much armor and we need to carry this much food and we need to carry this much this. And we are out of tonnage space. So we need to contract a dropship to come and make a supply run for us in 6 months because we don't have enough crap.
Or would it be cheaper just to buy our own dropship to do these runs? Yeah, that kind of stuff. And I'm totally down with the same thing. I loved figuring out how many stun sticks we had confiscated, or oh shit, we don't have enough armor to fix this mech. What are we going to do? Well, this mech's not going into the field because we have to strip the armor off it to get this marauder moving. Yeah, I love that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So do I. It's fully enjoyable, right? Like
entire games that you're never even on the battlefield. You're busy sitting around the table discussing how the frick to feed everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I'm sure Brett and I still have books left over from campaigns that it's nothing but, okay, we have 100 troopers and they're armed with this, so we have this and we have this, and then we have some, we have a couple of vehicles, so that's got this and this, and then we've got a bunch of mechs and this, okay, and this, and then we got like a couple of aerospace fighters, so they're covered with this stuff, and everybody's equipped with this, and yeah. Yeah.
And we're renting out as a Merc Lance of 4 mechs.
Yeah.
Because we're like, well, my shit's important. People aren't going to break into our base and steal it while I'm out in the field. I got to have, a battalion of infantry to guard our base.
Yeah, I've always loved that with the campaigns. People are like, there's a lot of staff. I'm like, yeah, but there's only like 5 mechs. Yes. Do you want somebody walking off with your mech? No, then you have to hire security.
Exactly.
You got to feed those guys. Look at all the techs and Aztecs. Or, those guys you just hired, somebody's got to feed them. That's why you have cooks. Next thing you know, your 4 mech lance has got 80 people working underneath them.
Yeah, and 3 dropships to cart everybody around.
Yep, fantastic.
Yeah, that takes me back to the 90s, like late 90s. One of the first major campaigns I was in, basically my first experience with Battletech, hanging out with Dave Marshall and Sean Husher and Sean Patty and a bunch of other people. And it ended up being 2 GMs running the game. Sean Husher was running like the player side of the game, and Dave Marshall was running the op force, so the opposing forces. Basically, they came up with a campaign setting beforehand, and Sean said, okay, Dave, you're in charge of them. So here's the planet that it's going to be involved with. Figure out everything you need to figure out. And he figured out, these forces are at these different places. These guys are stationed here and there. And then the 12 players, and it seemed like a lot at the time, but we ended up breaking up, 4 people per lance. I ended up being in charge of the scout lance. I think at the time we were using MechWarrior 2nd edition. So that had some really interesting character rules and traits that you could go off. So I ended up getting a trait where I was rolling initiative with 3 dice, take the best 2.
Yeah. Is that MechWarrior 2? Is that the one with the life paths?
They all have life paths, but that was the first time that it went into. It wasn't as in depth. It was basically, here's your couple of 2 or 3 life paths, your couple of 2 or 3 tour of duties, and that gives you your basics.
So it wasn't the one with the events that you rolled for?
The 3rd edition you rolled for the events.
Yeah, and I love that.
That is absolutely my choice, preference, character build out of any game I've ever played. We've incorporated it into other games that we've played.
Well, the Traveler had it the first time I ever saw it. It was a Traveler thing where you could actually die during character creation.
Yeah, it's great, right?
And I loved it because when they brought it to MechWarrior, I loved it as well because I was like, oh my god, it was a game. making your character was a game all into itself. It was like, oh, this is fun.
Oh yeah, rolling the life paths it's half the fun, right? That turns your entire character creation session into its own little session where it's fun, right? Like,
Yeah. And that actually is what turned me off the next edition, which was pretty much a reprint of the third MechWarrior 3, but they got rid of the rolling. You still picked the life path, but you didn't roll for what happened.
yeah, you had so many points, and then you picked and chose for your stuff, and
yeah, I didn't like that.
Is that the Time of War one now?
I think that is the Time of War one. Yeah,
which was just the reprint.
No, it's totally different.
Oh, okay, then I could be wrong.
They did a reprint of it, and Geoff and I were super excited. I went out and I bought it, and we didn't realize it was a reprint until I got it home, and I had the two books side by side, and I threw it across the room because I was like, I just spent $60 on a book that has a different cover.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit of spelling corrections and a little bit better page layout, but other than that, it's the exact same book. They didn't change anything. I'm just glad that the Sentry Box has a good return policy and good people that work there.
Yeah, they can be very good. Yeah, so we were all pretty much in the same boat. We liked the campaign plays with the minutia portions of it, because I want to learn how to do the war chest because it's fast. But I really did like the having to deal with the pennies and pinching them and figuring out how to actually make money. Because that was the one thing when I played a lot, was the lore was that mercenaries are always right on the edge. They're going to lose their shirts. They're going to lose everything. So they have to take those risky missions. And
I'm sorry, you can't run an archer. You get this Black Knight. Well, why? Because we can't afford missiles.
Yeah, I really liked that. And I always wanted to play in in a campaign where you made it. You became one of the big people. You were the Wolf's Dragoons or Big Mac. There was no question in any of that. It was just me reiterating that we all like the same thing.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
We are most definitely rambling tonight. People are getting their money's worth.
It's good.
Yeah, it is kind of just an episode where we're going all over the place.
And I think everyone will agree. I think it's just taking a topic, like you said, preferences, and just running with it. I think everyone would agree with us on that that's really what's going to be the most interesting shows. If we just word for word it, it's not rambling. Right? We're reading a script.
Yeah, we'll leave that for the in-season shows.
Yeah.
But again, that preference fits for that because you want to have, like, okay, here's your sports center. These are the matches that got played last week. These are the results. These are what's coming up next week. These are people's predictions and how we think it's going to play out.
Yeah. I think the different formats work good for the show. I know over at Killbox, I love the energy that Jacques brings to it, and I think the fans have all commented on that, on how the energy is just different, and I love it that they like both our work and his.
All right, so I think that pretty much is going to be most of the topic that we've talked about today. We could keep rambling, but it would be actually just rambling at this point. So we will cut it a little bit shorter than normal, folks. And we want to enjoy having these episodes for you, but we also want you to enjoy them so that you can keep coming back and like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon and all the things that the YouTube gods love and desire.
Yeah, I'm just really glad to be back. Things are going really well. We're going to get the editing in, get the shows back on the road. I don't know. I'm a sucker for punishment. I mean, we're getting pretty busy.
But I mean, we've got May coming up where there's 2 tournaments coming off. We'll still have our tech, but we won't necessarily be running any events ourselves.
The EBL had their opening day yesterday. Their commissioner, Steven, is going to be sending me the information about how the games went and some pictures that we can add in the next show. Either Rambletech or Command Coach, I think we will add a little blurb about how the EBL did. And good on them to get going. Good luck.
Yeah, I hope EBL turns out to be another great league. And, I wonder if we're still going to see Steven down here. I wish them all the best up there and hope they're fully successful, and look forward to hearing from them about how their games are going.
My heart goes out to Steven because he's starting a thing. He's got it going on his own by EBL. He doesn't have the crew that we have that are experienced that will just jump in and help run it all. Because, I mean, we've been doing it, so most of ours was already up and running. But that being said, He won our last season. He is required to come down and participate. It's not a choice. He's the reigning defender. He has to come in and play this season.
I don't know. I think the best chance for any of having a new champion might be if he doesn't.
Now he's going to be so exhausted between running his own thing and then driving back and forth.
Listen, if I just had a greater hit percentage than less than 33%, our game might have been different. My dice failed me.
That's true, but it is a dice game.
Oh, yes.
Right.
100%.
Depending on stables next year, we might not go for some of those all or nothing weapons.
Oh, my word. You know, we actually have completely rambled off track again.
Hey, we're great at this.
Yep. All right. So, like Brett said, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We'll see you guys in a couple of days with the kill box. Have a good day.